Thank you for joining us on Merit Matters, a virtual series highlighting current events, industry experts, and local community engagement. I am your host, Tammy Berklid, Principal of Merit Construction. And today we have a special interview highlighting our new campaign, All In. While considering who to interview for this topic, I realized the perfect person couldn't be more obvious, Scott Seelye, our estimator. He's someone who's committed in every aspect of his life. He is now celebrating over 40 years together with his bride. He has a decade-long commitment to our Merit team. And Scott is someone who I truly believe is all in all the areas of his life. Scott and I are going to explore some of those stories and why I feel that way. Please enjoy Scott Seelye. Okay,
All
you
right.
ready?
Sure, let's do it.
All right. Scott, thank you so much for coming today and talking with me about something I think that you're an expert in.
Okay, I'm all ready for it.
All right,
I,
let's
I don't
do
know
it.
about expert, but I have some good insight into it, over time. Takes time to get to this point.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. We're going to talk today about all in and what that means to us, what it means to us at Merit, and what it means to us individually as people. And that's why I asked you to join me today, because I believe that you are an example of that in your life, in both your personal life as well as your professional life. And I thought that you would be a great asset to kind of get your perspective on what it means. So let's dig into that and tell me, from your perspective, what does it mean to be all in?
You know, I went back and I looked up the definition of all in because it's interesting. Sometimes that means something different to everybody, but basically it's
Sure.
being committed, right? Giving your all, being there. And so for me, I mean, it goes back to when I was started out as a kid, and I started out. I was a competitive swimmer all my life. So when I was growing up, started swimming at the YMCA downtown Tacoma, age 5. I had an older brother who was there, but I had a parent or parents that were very, very dedicated to helping their children get to their levels of success, no matter what that was.
Hmm.
So I had a father that was basically there to, help out day in, day out, get me to where I wanted to go. And then through that in swimming, I met a great swimming coach. He's kind of an icon or legend in the Tacoma area. If people that know him at my age, a guy named Dick Hanula, very instrumental in getting people to be all in. I mean, that was what he did. He brought you belief. He brought you commitment. He taught you how to be that not only in a sport, but also how do you carry that over into your life?
Right.
Because all in isn't all about business, and succeeding there. It's about relationships and going through that. So um, for me, swimming was a big start of that. My parents, role model, my coach. And then in my life, it's been my marriage. I mean, it's been all in. I'm in fact today I just sent my beautiful wife a happy engagement day message. So got to go back in time here. 42 years ago, I asked her to be my wife. We've been married for 40 years, and so I think she was all in before I was. So 7th grade, she turns around, looks at me, talks to her friend, says, "I'm gonna marry that guy." So my all in was like premeditated, and that's where it went to.
Destiny.
So,
Yeah, it was
but
preordained and you were destined for that.
absolutely. So I mean, all in is not about one person. Um, in a marriage for me, it's been a team. You take those vows and you know most people take them seriously. Some people have rough stretches in their lives where they can't fix it. But for us, it's always been we're best friends. It's, in sickness and in health, we've been poor, we've been rich.
Yeah,
Well, I don't know if we've been rich, but we're rich in love, right?
sure.
So for us, I mean, that's the all in. For us, it was like our marriage, it's all in, it's forever. So yeah, anyway.
Yeah,
Boy,
no,
you
I
make
love
me,
that.
oh, how sentimental, right? I mean,
No, I think that this is, again, this is why I asked you to do this, because I think that you are kind of just emulating on every single day of your life what all in looks like to you. And like you said, I think it's real. I think everybody sees it maybe a little bit different, but I would agree with you 100%. It's about commitment. It's about loyalty in action. It's like demonstrating putting something above everything else every day, even when you don't feel like it. Whether that's your wife, whether that's your family, whether that's your job or your sport, because I think that was a great example. And I think that a lot of people's first understanding of commitment and dedication
mhm,
is sports.
right.
So I think that that's another great example of.
Yeah, because that dedication of that sport is, that created me. I don't know, from, my dad getting up at 5:30 every morning. We lived in Puyallup, but I went to Wilson, Tacoma. He
Mhm,
would get me up at 5:15 or 5:30, have a hot breakfast on my table, and he would drive me across town my whole first year because I didn't get my license till a month before my junior year. I was a young high school
mhm,
student.
yeah,
So that commitment there leads me into the same commitment I have every day. I mean, I'm here early,
that's right.
and is it a habit? Yeah. It's a commitment, yeah, but it's like that's that's how you get your motivation. That's people teach you that, sometimes you feel like you work too hard, but if you don't work hard, shame on you for not being, to get to that success that you're trying to hit. But I think a lot of that was, bred into me of if you want to achieve something, you got goals. I mean, you have to put in hard work and time. For me, I can't get up. I mean, I can sleep in on the weekends a little bit, but during the weekday, it's like, okay, I got to, right now I got to be here by 6. I got a lot to do, and that all in is part of that, right? If you're going to be all in about getting your job done or work done, you need to figure out a way to do that on a daily basis to be successful for your whole team. It's not about me being all in. It's being helping the whole team be all in and getting to that level.
I think you asked about, is it a habit? And I think it starts as a habit and then it turns into a discipline. And I think once it's a discipline, then it becomes part of who you are as an overall all-in individual.
Hmm.
And I think for sure that is something that, like you said, it started as something that was just kind of demonstrated to you, and then it
Hmm.
becomes part of who you are. And I
And
think
that,
that's a great example of all in,
yeah,
that your dad being all in helped you to be all in.
right. I think you added that word in there. I mean, yeah, the word discipline there because commitment, you have to be disciplined to be committed. I mean, everybody can throw out, "Hey, I'm committed." Okay, what are you doing to be committed? I mean, it's easy to say it, but to walk it. But again, going back to my early days of swimming, that's exactly what Coach Hanley instilled in us. You have to be disciplined in your daily life. Schoolwork, that's being disciplined because you're working out. Got to be disciplined because if you're a certain level in anything, but in sport at that time, is that okay? You're not going to go do these other things that you would love to do, like skiing and
Right.
soccer, because you had goals there. And if you got injured, then that was it. So, but discipline goes right there with all in and being committed.
For sure. So, can you think of a time in our work together or a particular job where you felt like the whole team was all in? And then how does that impact that particular project?
Yeah, I go back to in our time together. I look at the project we did for Torre. I mean, TCA 6. That was, a project where everybody was all in and committed, and you had to be. But also, we were learning how to work with a new owner who hadn't gone through team build and how that process looked. So if we as a company were not able to demonstrate, the all in, the team build, that would have been that project might not have been very good. But we had belief, we had understanding from the owner of how we do things, how we go about it. You brought in a great team. I mean, your commitment to that project also was above and beyond what we've done in the past, but we had to because we had a short timeline. We had a good owner, but we had to make sure that everybody was committed to that project.
Can you think of a particular example on that project? Say, we know we were working with Daynard. We were, if you look at our design team, we were working with David Bow Architects. We were working with, I'm trying to think of all the different engineers. It was quite a while back, but can you think of somebody or an instance where where they really demonstrated a team where you saw it impact the project?
I would say on that project, who I thought had the biggest impact there. Oh, that's a good question. I hadn't really thought about that one, but we had some good subcontractors out there that were hit with a lot of have tos get this thing done. I mean, two of them that come to mind would be the building erection with CHG. They're one that I've dealt with Ryan and then Steve, his brother, their dad before that, Chuck, for a number of years, and they always come to the table and get the project done and on a timely basis. And I think our second one would be, for me, would have been a critical element of the building was the HVAC and would have been air systems engineering. All the other subs, did a great job, but those two probably stick out. With air systems, we're trying to design humidity control, temperature control, cooling controls for a product for the aerospace industry that is critical. And those were some critical elements that took time to figure out. But again, they were very efficient on it. So those two guys really stick out. Those two companies really stick out mostly in my mind to coming to the table and getting it done and getting the owner in the position where they have what they need for their product.
I think, when I think of a subcontractor, and I can think of those two individuals that you bring up in particular, the thing that changes it, the thing that makes it feel like they're all in is their responsiveness, their availability, their dedication to the project and their product. They come to the table with solutions instead of, identifying problems. They have two options when they come to the table. And just consistently putting the project before themselves. It wasn't about where they were in the project or what they needed for the project or what they wanted to see with the schedule or anything about that. It was about putting the project above themselves. And I think anytime we have a situation where it's complex like that, in particular the air system side of things, they really did have a lot that they had to come to the table with, but they were willing to dig in and figure it out. It was a challenge that they were excited about, and I think they have a long-term relationship as a result of that with Torre. And I think that's the goal. At the end of the day, when we walk away, we want our owners to be equally as happy with our subcontractors as we are. And I think that definitely was the case
Yeah,
with that building.
right. And I think at the end of the day, I mean, we want that owner, to be happy with every subcontractor, be happy with us, and vice versa. I mean, if on that project we didn't have a facilities manager like Mark Fromong, that gave us quite a bit of freedom, but yet made decisions quickly, understood processes, to me, that's a big part of a team being all in. It goes, down to subcontractors that we hire and we trust and we recommend because of their skill sets. But for me, it's also working with the owner that, has that mutual respect about what we do and how we do it. Because there's been a number of times in my career that, that just doesn't mesh. You go through a project and it's just, it's hard all the way through. And you get to the end and it's like, I don't want to say there's no love, but there's no love at the end of the day. It's like, well, thank you, go on. We're done with you. And that's for me always been frustrating in my whole career because for me, I take maybe things a little bit too personally at times in business, but that's who I am. I'm not going to change that. I like to change it sometimes when I maybe speak out of turn, but on the end of the day, what we do, and I think you said it the other day, or I saw it on LinkedIn this morning. What we do is hard. And it's not that nobody else's job's hard and their lines of work, but what we do is hard from start to end. People have these visions of, oh, you just build it and it gets done. I've seen it on TV. They can build a house in a week. But now it's like, okay, what we have to do is we have to walk them through that process. And a lot of our owners don't understand construction. So our all in is teaching them through that process. We're going to have highs, we're going to have lows, but it's at the end of the day, my goal has always been that owner at the end of the day is happy at the end of the job, gives you a recommendation, and hopefully hires you back for another project. So,
yeah, I think that's one of the things that you're exceptional about is identifying what each client needs and ensuring that they have the same level of understanding as someone who might be construction savvy. So I've watched many times have had you go through things with a client that, you explain it to them as if they, don't understand construction and, not using acronyms and not speaking above them technically and doing a great job or working on a breakdown that will help them see things in a new way. Just putting a lot of effort into ensuring that the people that are receiving our product understand what they're getting and that they can see that you're always advocating for them. And I think that you've proven that with someone who is a first-time construction builder and someone like Mark who's been in construction his entire life. And with Mark, you take it to a different level. You can speak to him and he can ask you highly technical questions and you understand those things and are able to come to the table with answers for him. And, you guys have worked out the kind of relationship where what he wants, you come to the table prepared with the estimate in a way that is already broken down for his superiors because
right.
What he's going to need.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's great. I think that's something that I'm always proud of the way that you handle our clients in that regard. Another thing that you brought up earlier was trust, which I can't speak to that enough in construction. And it can certainly be difficult going in if you haven't had a relationship with an individual before. There are a lot of unknowns and it's a lot of money and people are concerned and in a lot of instances they're going to build one building in their entire life and all their eggs are in our basket. And so I certainly understand their apprehension. But with with Mark at Torrey, we had the opportunity to start small and build trust before we built that larger building. And that was instrumental in us succeeding on that project because we had developed trust in our relationship. And so there were things that we could do much faster because there wasn't all of the apprehension and the concern. There was, we know what you're looking for, we're going to get that to you. And he was able to make quick decisions because we had built trust together and he knew that he could depend on us. So I think that that's another way when we have the benefit of a client that's all in, that's outstanding. It really changes the game. So
Right.
that was a huge
Yeah, and
bonus.
we don't. It's still. I mean, what what does Merit do that's different and better than our competitors in that area? And it's, it's easy to say what we do, but you have to really be able to demonstrate and have that backup from your past clients because as you know, when we go out and we talk to new clients, like, this is what we do, this is how we do it. For us, it's just common what we do, right? We we do it what we believe is the right way. We believe
Every
in
time.
transparency. We believe in success. We believe in, making sure that the client is getting the value for the dollar.
Mhm.
But when we go talk to a new client, that's the hardest thing to figure, how do we develop their trust? And that's always been a challenge no matter who it is and when it is. But, I think as you've built this company since I've been here over the last 11 years and what we're trying to demonstrate to clients. We have clients that come to the table and they write those commitments out to you and us, the recommendations of who we are and how we do it. And I just wish a lot of times that every client that we talk to would actually get on the phone and call and talk to some of those customers. I don't think they all do, but I think they would get a better sense of who we are and how we operate. So,
Yeah,
um,
I would agree. I always encourage that new clients reach out to our past clients, and I will always tell them not just for who we are during the build, but who we are long after the build.
mhm,
Because I think that's key to being all in as well. Is not just being there during construction, but being there for the rest of the life of the building, for
absolutely.
having built a relationship, and for those clients to be able to depend on the fact that we're going to be there and stand behind our product. So
Yeah,
I
and
just think that's
that's another great example of all in
Mhm.
that just kind of clicked with me when you said that because yeah, I mean, everybody thinks what we do is, kind of temporary. It's when you're done, you're done. But I think our commitment and merit is that we're going to be with you forever if you need us. If you
Mhm.
have an issue, call us. And so I think that's, a great selling point of the all in of how we go back and take care of the customers. Totally different than maybe the public bid world where, your 1 year's up and you're done. And if you
Right.
have something that happens in 13 months, we'll send people out and we'll charge you. Where, Merit's all in about, hey, if we can take care of it, we're going to take it. If it's a major issue, obviously different story, but if we can come out and help you fix something, we're there to do that.
And regardless, we're going to be there. We're going to walk you through whatever needs to happen. And
Absolutely.
that's a big part of it, is just having someone to consult with and ensure that you're making the right decision as a building owner. So do you have some advice for someone that is maybe having difficulty in really committing to being all in?
Yeah, I think the first thing is commitment's hard. Quitting's easy. I
Mhm.
mean, and that again, this is going to go back to when I was a kid growing up and a great swimming coach. I mean, he was like the disciplined guy. I mean, um, you know, if you're having hard times, you just got to look at what the end result's going to be. If you're not going to be committed or all in on something, then to me, it's like, what's the purpose? I mean, you have to have a purpose at the
Mhm.
end of the day. So, my coach was great. I mean, he was Mr. Positive, but yet he knew you and he knew how to get into your head, right? Sort of like you, right? You know everybody, but you also know strengths and weaknesses. But there's I think one quote, and he used to have a chalkboard, up on the
Mhm.
chalkboards, not whiteboards. Back in the day, they didn't
Yes,
have that.
got it.
Um, but he'd always put up, different things, symbols. But the one quote that resonates with me that he put up about commitment is that a diamond is a lump of coal that's stuck with it.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen overnight. It's a process. I mean, being all in and being commitment, like I said, just doesn't happen today or tomorrow. It's going to be a process over time. And you have to have that attitude of, how am I going to get to my successes? Like I have to believe of what I can do. I have to believe in my abilities. I have to believe in how those abilities can help the team. I mean, and that's another one that we had posted everywhere. And you see it still today. Any sports event you go to, believe,
Mhm.
right? I mean, I still have that sign at home that I got in high school because he used to put these signs at the end of the pool. They're about, I don't know, 2 feet by a foot, and he'd stamp them. They're black with white letters, and I got believe,
Mhm.
I have dedicated, and I have commitment. I still have those
Yeah.
because that's, if you're gonna go all in and succeed at something, you have to believe in your abilities. You have to believe that what you're doing is the best for the people you're leading and the best for you in the long term. And I think that's one thing, I've seen with you is your ability to do that with merit, and bring, people, get them positive. I mean, yes, you're firm on certain things, but it's like you have to believe in yourself. You might have to do this differently, but you need to believe in yourself to get it done. So I think, back to those people having hard times, it's like you just trust in your abilities, believe in your abilities. It'll happen. You just have to, set a goal out there. It can be a very small one. Don't don't go to the end of the moon on your first one. But setting goals, that's part of that commitment. How do you get from A to B? And if you want to achieve something, then have a milestone. How are you going to get there? But don't just say, I'm going to go from here to here
Mhm.
in a week, because that's unrealistic. You have to be realistic about that goal and setting them.
I think it's like it's being steadfast and just like putting one foot in front of the other each day when you don't feel like it. It's it's thinking about what is your why. You talked about, your purpose, and I think you have to ask yourself, what's my end game here? Why do I care about this? What do I want? And then you have to change the way you're thinking and make your decisions based on what you want. So, like you said, quitting is easy, and that's
It
real.
is. Yeah.
But if you put your goal in front of you and you make your decisions based on the success of that goal, that's that changes things. That helps guide you each day as to, am I going to stay out tonight, or am I going to get to bed early because I have a commitment in the morning?
Right.
It's as simple as that. It's just being dedicated to whatever the goal is. It's finding ways to put that goal first over whatever is the short-term easy thing,
Mhm.
because that's the end game. That's your why.
Yeah.
And I think if you can focus on your why, I think that's a win, and that helps make it easier. It makes the hard thing of being all in or being committed easier.
Yeah. And you're not going to achieve every goal you set out there. That'd be a miracle. If you don't achieve a goal, doesn't mean you failed. It's a learning lesson of how to get better at the next step. And I think sometimes when people think they're all in and committed, they don't do that and they get disappointed and frustrated. But it's like, okay, there's a thing called reset button. So you reset the button and you go on. It's not that easy. Life is hard. Things are hard. So
We've certainly had our share of those experiences, the feeling like we're all in, that we're committed, we're trying to do all the right things, and then something comes along and knocks our feet out from underneath us, and that is disappointing for sure. It's like, if you are doing all you can on your side, and something comes along and hits you, it can be super challenging. but you can't move forward, you can't succeed. And for us, I think we're always remembering that we're not just working for ourselves, we're working for the rest of the team as well. And so, yes, it's true, we didn't get this job and we are super disappointed because we felt like we should have earned the job and we did everything right. But at the end of the day, we don't have a lot of time to stop and think about that and sort of wallow in it. We have to pick ourselves up and have a positive attitude and go after the next thing.
Yep.
And so even people who are all in 150% have days, like you're saying, that it feels like this is super hard. And and you and I have had those
Mhm.
conversations. But you just have to keep putting one foot in front of the other. And at some point, it goes from small steps to a run. There are times when it's fast and it feels easy, and then there's times when it feels like you're going straight uphill and with weight on your back. It's just the point is that you always keep taking steps forward.
Absolutely. Yep.
So you kind of talked about a couple of people that are very instrumental in your life, your dad and your coach from swimming. Do you have any other particular person that you want to talk about, someone you've witnessed that's exhibited that all-in mentality? Or it can just be further stories of them if that's your
Yeah, I think
preference.
so. I have two, and so the first is actually going to be a person named Tammy Berklid. You know, again, it's who's committed, who's all in. I mean, this goes back, to the first day we met, right? And we interviewed, and then I had you interview me like 6 or 7 more times. And I kind of laugh about that, and I think we laugh about that. And I don't think it was 6 or 7 times, but
It
a
was fun.
lot of that too was getting back to me and how my process is, right? Who are you, right? I knew Merritt, I knew Land. I didn't know Carl, but I knew Land. I knew the company through AGC.
Mhm.
But here's Tammy. Who is this person? And so for me, it was like just getting a little bit more confidence and back to the trust. But even going back then, I mean, you were always all in. I mean, you have a goal of where you're going and how you want to do it, and I've been impressed with that. I mean, it's you are a person that says things and then you follow up and you do it. So to me, that's a person that's all in. They're demonstrating to me as a employee and a person and a friend of who you are. And for me, that that's how I operate. I mean, I want to know that, there's trust there. I mean, if there's not, then I don't want to work for you. I mean, I don't want to be your friend at the end of the day. It's like, okay, let's make that, come in, and your mentality has brought that to me being demonstrated in the whole company. I mean, it's, hey, everybody, we got deadlines. We got to document. You got to own up to your mistakes. We have a logo, striving for excellence. The biggest thing I've been looking at the last year or so is we've been talking about employer of choice. I don't see why anybody would not want to come and work for your company. Seriously. And so, that for me, I mean, I'm proud to be your employee and to be part of that. And so that's my first story. So
Thank
I
you.
think I caught
Very
you off guard
generous.
maybe just a little bit, but I think that's important. I mean, for you to hear, because I think that's what all in is to me, of how you're running this company. So I think that's awesome. The second, I'm gonna go back to my dad, and I'll try to get through this without being too tearful-eyed. But the impact that he's had on me is like we said earlier, is way back. Swimming him. Even when I was in age group swimming, I mean, he would go to every swim meet. He would time. He would coach. or not coach, but he'd be official. He would drive me Oregon, Idaho, Canada. I mean, that's what he did. He was, that's the mentality that he had of, and not only with me, with my brother too. I mean, he was, he knew and he saw abilities of our talent, and both our talents at that time were swimming, and he knew that, hey, I could help you, and this is how I'm going to help you, and you're good at it, so hopefully you get a scholarship and get some money, and I don't have to pay for your schooling, which worked out well for him. But another thing back to my dad is that that mentality side of being all in and who he was. 1970, I'm dating myself now. We actually moved from Puyallup to Furcrest. So my older brother could actually go to Wilson High School and swim. At that time, you couldn't change districts because of swimming.
Right.
So we're there about this time in 1970, Christmas time. He loses his job. Well, I think he actually quit because he wasn't actually working for Daynard at that time. He was working for a competitor, and he quit because of I guess maybe some of the ethics and stuff going on. But this is in 1970. My brother's in high school. My brother needs a new Texas Instruments calculator with all the latest and greatest calculus and stuff on it for his education. My dad goes out and buys a $200 calculator in 1970. They're what, $995 now? And then he gave, I got something for Christmas, but him and mom did nothing. But it was his dedication of his mentality. And so to me, it's like for him, it's the Frank Sinatra song, I did it my way. And that's, and it is. I mean, that's how he was. He always did it his way. I mean, watching him again, learning how to be a better person and do things a little bit differently. I mean, he's living in Lakewood in a condo, and he has a condo that he has to go downstairs, and his hips and back are really bad. He just calls us up out of the blue, hey, we're moving. It's like, what? Well, gonna move into a senior retirement center. And they got an elevator and they give me food 3 times a day. So he was happy about that. So, and then he's there, and it's all of a sudden it's like, oh, I'm gonna sell my car. Well, why are you selling your car? I don't need to drive anymore. Great, So, these lessons that he's taught me have been incredible, and how to be committed. I mean, my mom and him were married for 53 years. He got married 6 months after my mom died, but he was committed to Margie for another 10 years. So again, commitment is just something that's ingrained in me, embedded, taught, learned. Well, I think with my dad passed away in February, I think, another lesson learned of all in is just his attitude.
Mm-hmm.
Here's a gentleman that worked hard all his life, knee issues, hip issues. I mean, the last 2 or 3 years, he's basically bedridden 22, 23 hours a day, uses an electric wheelchair to get up and down. But and this is going to be kind of my closing here, is that, at the end of the day, what did he teach me about all in? Is basically be happy and love everybody every day of your life. So, for me, I'm learning that still, but I can, for me, I feel a change that I'm maybe trying to do that more, because at the end of the day, life is way too short.
Yeah.
And you need to be all in with everybody that you deal with on a daily basis. So
I think that your dad was a beautiful person, and I enjoyed getting to know him through you. It's true that he taught you commitment. It's true that he demonstrated how to be diligent in being, wanting to be the best father. All all of the things. He demonstrated to you how to be committed to his employer, always give your best, a lot of different things, but you embraced it. You welcomed it and you said, this is who I want to be. I want to take the things that I admire about my dad and I want to be those things. And I think that everybody doesn't do that. You took the things that were put in front of you and you embraced them and you said, I'm gonna take these and take them to heart and be my best self as a result of them. So I think that's just another way that you were all in with your dad,
Yeah.
and I love that. I have listened over the years to your calls with your dad, your regular calls, and when he couldn't hear you and you'd have to yell. And I know you emailed him every day. I mean, you have been an amazing example as well for others, not just your own family, but people in the office of how to be a good son. So,
Well, thank you. I
touche
appreciate
to
that.
that.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's, yeah, miss them every day. So,
Yeah.
but
Well, I think that's just a life well lived, and it's a good example of why you want to be all in your life. There's
yep.
there's no greater reward than to be able to, feel like you don't have any regrets, that you did the right thing. And I think your dad, I always was amazed by how positive he could be about whatever circumstances he was in.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
so that's a great thing and
Yeah.
a great example.
And I was just, again, I'm just truly blessed to have that in my life for him to get to 95 years old, because I know I got a lot of friends
Mhm.
that, didn't get to experience that.
Yeah.
And 95 is a long time. So,
Yeah.
um,
It
so I think
certainly
that's,
is.
that's again, that lesson at the end was, hey, just be happy, enjoy every day.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And that is a great lesson. It's a good lesson for all of us. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for talking with me and being our first guest on talking about All In. I think it's such a great topic. I think it's a really good thing for people to think about, how much of you are you investing
Mhm.
in your home, in your office life, in your work, how much are you giving? And I think that you get so much back when you're fully committed and all in. And so we just can encourage everybody to walk down that same path. And um, again, I just appreciate your time. It was great talking with you.
I appreciate it too. And I think it was, I think it's an awesome thing. And I think it'd be a great challenge for anybody just to sit
Mhm.
down on their own and go through a few of these questions on their own.
Yeah,
So I think it just,
absolutely.
we don't do that often enough. I know, I don't probably read enough stuff anymore, or sit down. Sometimes you just get in those, ruts of, oh, well, nothing's going right today and nothing's going right this week or this month, but it's like, just time to reflect really is really what it is.
Yep. Yep.
And say, okay, and it's not always about work. It's just about life in general, about what can you do better as a person to be the best you can be every day. So,
Absolutely.
yep. Thank you, Tammy. I
Okay.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye.